Everybody, Alex Kazora, SteelersDepot.com, back with some Pittsburgh Steelers tape analysis. I want to talk about two free agent offensive linemen that I think are the two among the best and certainly two of the most realistic options to sign with Pittsburgh in the next couple of weeks. And so we'll start with the most recent and probably the most likely name to circle back to Pittsburgh, and that is BJ Finney, just released by the Cincinnati Bengals today. Finney, as you guys know, signed with the Steelers as an undrafted free agent out of Kansas State in 2016. Had played for the Steelers, worked his way up the roster as a fill in both at center and guard before signing a 2 year, $8 million deal with the Seattle Seahawks. This past offseason, Seattle did not end up playing him. They traded him to the Bengals at the trade deadline for Carlos Dunlap. And then because Finney's contract was still pretty large and teams working on getting cap compliant and cap casualties and the like, the Bengals cut BJ Finney, and so now he is free to sign with any team at any time, even before March 17th, the start of the new league year. And obviously, for clear reasons, it makes sense for Finney to return. There's a very much obvious need for the Steelers to address center in free agency. I expect them to bring somebody in, BJ Finney or somebody else, so they don't go into the draft with such a giant hole at center. The only player on the roster right now who has Sunday snapping experience is J.C. Hassenauer, who should not be starting for this team in 2021. You would imagine Finney's going to be dirt cheap, probably signed for the minimum, considering he didn't play a single offensive snap this past season. And I imagine he would like to come back to Pittsburgh. He left probably not because he was ready to get out of Pittsburgh, but because the opportunity and the money in Seattle was obviously something the Steelers couldn't match this past year. And so now he'll have an opportunity. The money shouldn't be an issue, and he can bring some veteran depth and potentially start week one, or more likely, preferably, you draft a rookie, you sign Finney, and then Finney becomes your backup and depth guy who can work at center and guard because there is no depth, even if you have a hypothetical rookie come in behind Dotson, that rookie and David DeCastro, there really isn't much in terms of interior depth right now. Now, I know Finney didn't play well for whatever reason, didn't work out in Seattle, but he played reasonably well in Pittsburgh, and he knows the system, knows the scheme, they know him. And so that's kind of an easy fit to see. And, whatever it's worth, Finney was a Steelers fan growing up. Remember how emotional he was when he signed with Pittsburgh back in 2016. So I imagine there's every reason to believe that Finney would want to come back to Pittsburgh should they want him, and there's probably interest there. The other name I'll give you guys is a guy currently under contract until the start of the new league year, so the Steelers couldn't sign him right away the way they could BJ Finney, but it's one of my favorite guys, and I have on Steelers Depot a wish list of free agent offensive linemen to be who I think make a lot of sense. And this guy to me is at the top of the list, Ben Garland out of the 49ers camp. He's 33, coming off a 1 year deal, started 5 games for the 49ers this past season, went on IR with a calf strain to not finish out the season. Should make him extremely cheap again. Minimum, maybe a little bit above for Garland type level deals. Only 15 career starts, but his tape is good. And he's been in zone schemes in Denver, Atlanta, and then with the 49ers. And so he's an athletic guy who can pull, can move out in space. And while the Steelers haven't run a real zone heavy scheme, they certainly like having centers who can pull and move in space. And Pouncey was really good at that. Even last year, he was pretty good at it. And I thought one issue the Steelers did have overall, though, was they had such a tough time with their offensive line, particularly the interior guys, the centers and the guards, of being able to climb and work to the second level. There were so many linebackers that would just constantly run free because they couldn't get to the second level to be able to stick and engage on those blocks, and that was one of the many reasons why this was the 32nd ranked rushing attack last season. Garland's a good athlete. He's got good size, so if he has to be a backup, he can work at guard or center or start at both spots. Because the one issue, and it's a little bit with Finney, but you think about a guy like Stefan Wisniewski. One reason why he struggled, and one reason why I'm not crazy about J.C. Hassenauer, is that they really are centers only. In Pittsburgh's system, at least, they need bigger guards. You think about all the guards that have come through over the years, whether you're talking, Alan Faneca, Chris Kimiatu, to more current day guys, Matt Filer, Mode Foster. They were all bigger guys, and Wisniewski and Hassenauer are smaller guys who just don't fit in that system well. They're okay centers in a pinch, but they're not good guards. And so you need someone with some size to really play guard in your system. And Garland has, I think he's listed 6'5", 310 or something like that, and he looks pretty big. So I think he's got a good combination of size and athleticism And then to the point of, where's the realistic fit here? When he was with Atlanta a couple of years ago, his offensive line coach there was Chris Morgan, who has now been hired to be the Steelers' assistant offensive line coach. So there's a pretty clear connection there. So I think Garland would make a lot of sense. A cheap veteran guy. You start him if you have to. If a rookie, isn't ready, gets hurt, you don't draft a rookie center for whatever reason, whatever the case is, during the first couple rounds of the draft. You have that insurance policy the way you did Morgan Burnett for Terrell Edmonds and Mark Barron for Devin Bush and Dante Moncrief for Deontay Johnson. You get the idea. That's generally how Colbert pairs at a veteran, still with a high draft pick. So signing these guys or anyone else, Joe Looney from the Cowboys or whoever else you want to mention, is not going to prevent you from drafting somebody, but you do want to get that veteran guy to give yourself some flexibility and options heading into the draft so you don't feel compelled and obligated to draft somebody right away because that's when you reach and make mistakes and that's when you feel like you don't have a lot of play on draft day for trades or whatever the case. The guy falls to you, you get the idea. So I think Finney and Garland are the two names who make the most sense in terms of them coming to Pittsburgh. So those are my thoughts on those two guys. Again, I'll leave a link in the description for my complete offensive line wish list over on Steelers Depot on Monday. I will have a wish list for these skill positions, a couple of receivers, a couple of running backs, maybe a tight end or two who I think would make sense. But for Pittsburgh, for agency, given the cap situation, you want to think cheap, veteran, realistic options for the Steelers right now. And Finney and Garland, I think, are two of the best. But let me know your thoughts in the comments below. Who would you like to see the Steelers sign in free agency? Thank you guys so much for watching, and we'll talk to you soon.